All right, let's cover 7 different tools that you can use when writing mysteries. The first is the red herring. The red herring is a piece of information that seems really important, but ends up being more of a misdirection and a distraction. Now, there's a negative connotation with red herrings where they're sort of like, oh, this feels like a waste of time, because it is. You're intentionally misleading the audience, making them think that something's important, but it ends up not being. This can be a powerful tool that can be easily overused, because at the end of the day, when you're telling a mystery, you're presenting a great question. You got to have a good answer for that, right? The red herring stands between the question and the answer, and it misdirects the audience's attention to the real answer by making a really great alibi for something else. Oh, it was Professor Plum, right? Because, he had blood on his gloves, right? The blood on the gloves. Oh my God, that makes it seem like he's guilty, right? A red herring is a piece of information that throws the audience off track from the mystery. And of course, the danger is if you do this too many times, you abuse the trust of the audience, because then it feels like, well, you're just putting a lot of attention on things that aren't important. I could have figured this out if you actually stayed on track with answering the question that you promised that you'd answer. Number 2, the unexpected confession. Knives Out is a great example of this. You present a question up front: who killed Harlan Thrombey? And almost right after presenting that question to the audience, we get an answer. Somebody confesses, and we get a pretty strong case of, oh my God, we know exactly how he died, who administered the drug that killed him. This throws the audience off their footing. The question went in that story from who did it to how can they get away with it, right? Of course, there's more to come later in the story. I highly recommend that movie. Can be legitimate or illegitimate. Like, it could be somebody telling a falsehood to protect someone or whatever. What matters in an unexpected confession is timing it well and making sure that ultimately delivers on the answer in your story. Are you constructing an alibi for someone? Or are you having the actual killer confess to something early and making the question more about like, okay, will they get away with it? This is a powerful tool, but you gotta use it well and time it right. The third tool for mystery writing is the framed victim. This is a narrative that is so common in Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes stories, where someone has been framed for a murder or whatever it is, and the plot will be about proving that person's innocence. In this scenario, the story world has presented a strong case against an individual, and it becomes the fun of the story to unpack that strong case and poke holes in it. The fourth mystery writing tool is the vanishing clue. You can present a really key piece of information, but to then have it disappear. That creates a little question, another mystery. Where did that piece of information go? Who changed it? This creates another point of conflict and engagement in the story of someone's perpetuating the mystery, making the answers harder to gain. 5 is a classic in mystery writing, the secret identity. And in the secret identity, you have a character who's obviously, their identity is revealed to be something that it's not later in the story, right? This can be layered really well in a mystery, where someone who is interacting with evidence or interacting with an alibi to have their motivations appear to be different than what they really are. This can make misdirections easier to place for an audience, right? It's a way of hiding things, because like we assume, oh, they're a mafia overlord and they are presented in a particular way in the story. Wait, they're really an FBI agent, right? To switch that piece of information can change our assumptions about what the person has done and what they're going to do in the story. Number 6 is a fun one. The false victim. You present a character in your story who appears to be a victim to the mystery or to the dilemma of the mystery, and you reveal later in the story that, oh, they actually weren't a victim. They might in fact be a perpetrator, or have an alibi that was false, or have presented a story that was inauthentic to the characters in the story. This is where you can sort of see the fun of layering all these things together. Oh, I have a frame narrative with a false victim, right? Or somebody framed themselves for something. Why would that happen, right? Agatha Christie would write her mysteries backwards a lot of times. Like, she'd start with all the answers in the full picture and slowly seed out these key pieces of information, right? So if you have like a really ridiculously complex mystery of, like, for example, somebody framed themselves for a murder that they didn't do, that's a great answer. What's a worthwhile question at the beginning of the story that will make that worthwhile and fun? 7 is very similar. It's the false alibi. Alibi is information you give to the audience about the innocence or truth of an individual's testimony. They were at the movie theater the night of the murder, and there were 18 witnesses, so there's no way they could have been there at the same time. Having an alibi be altered or misrepresented can be a fun way of misdirecting the audience, put an audience off of the answer. And for a bonus mystery writing tool, overlooked detail. To present something mundane at the front of the story that you would take totally for granted. The audience just sort of takes it in, because when an audience is starting in a story, they're like, okay, who's this about? What's happening? Why are we here? Presenting a piece of information that just seems really mundane, like you wouldn't think twice about it, right in that period of time where they're initially digesting the who, what, when, where, why, and how of what's happening, making that one thing really important later is really fantastic. Your mystery is only as good as the answer you have for the question that you present to the audience. And when you're initially presenting the question, to have key detail that makes everything unlock later on, right there for them to digest, they'll be like, oh wait, a piano was missing a key, or whatever the heck it was. Your job as a writer is to deliver on the promise to the audience. And these are all tools that you can use to help make the answers to great questions more compelling. Anyway, like and subscribe if you want more content like this. And check out our courses with NYU professor John Warren, Writing the Short, which covers everything you need to know about writing short films, and Writing the Feature, which is our premier screenwriting course, which covers everything you need to know about writing feature screenplays from idea to finished outline. And it's very similar to John's advanced screenwriting course at NYU. Highly recommend. Thanks so much. Have a great day.